Oh yeah, what's going on, Game Weepers? This is Coach Cheese, and some more changes for 12.14 have been revealed today. Now, the change list actually got released on Twitter, and we'll show you this on your screens now so you can see the actual list of changes for the next patch. But some of these have actually got released. So the actual buffs and nerfs what Riot are doing, we will reveal in this video what they are, so make sure you stick around for the whole thing. And if you want to stay in tune with all of the changes, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And to ask the guys, any of the champions, any of the roles, make sure you check out the Game Weep website, linked in the description and comment section. Because unlike other sites, we don't just recycle our YouTube content and put it on our website for our subscribers. What we do, we make daily content that is exclusive, and we have a ton of content creators that make these videos to help you become the best player you can possibly be. So to achieve your goals in Season 12, make sure you check out those links, get signed up, and let's get into the changes for 12.14. So we're going to start by talking about Pantheon. Now, I'm not talking about Pantheon in terms of lane Pantheon, I'm talking about Pantheon in terms of jungle Pantheon. So for those of you, and me included, who used to play Pantheon back in the day in the jungle, actually really fun to play as well, we will be happier because Pantheon's Q monster damage is now increasing by 50% from 70% to 120%. This is huge for jungle Pantheon, of course, because this means that you can actually clear camps without dying to them, and you can get through the jungle camps without too much hassle. Pantheon being one of the best gankers in the game as well because of your W, this is such a deadly combination. If we think about maybe some mid lane combinations, like with a Talia, with a seismic shove, like an Ahri, really anyone to be honest, Pantheon is just a great early game jungler who can keep his laners safe because of his power. So Pantheon will definitely be a force in the jungle in 12.14. Let me know, guys, if you test him out on the PBE in terms of his clear speed and whether you can actually compete with the meta junglers at the moment, because this buff does make him look a lot more viable. Now, as far as another AD champion who's getting buffed in terms of the jungle goes, we have another champion who is copying the same treatment as Pantheon, this being Qiyana. But let me just say this, in regards to these changes, right, Qiyana, Pantheon, these are meant to be laners. So Riot buffing them in the jungle, well, that should really suggest that everything else in the jungle is kind of balanced and viable, but that's just not the case. There are some champions in the jungle who are just straight up trash, and their only role is jungle. So I don't know why Riot are buffing these champions when Qiyana is good as a mid laner. Pantheon, you can play in the mid lane, in the top lane, maybe as a support, but it's a little riskier these days. But hopefully you catch my drift here. But anyway, the Qiyana buffs in terms of the jungle, your Q's monster damage is increasing from 150% to 180%. So a bit like Pantheon, your Q's damage going up. This means your clear speed is better because you'll be killing those camps quicker, and this is important for Qiyana because your clear speed, well, it's not really the best. You can't clear all 6 camps before Scuttlecraft spawns like other champions like maybe Kayn or Diana or Hecarim, and if you don't get going in the early game, you can fall behind because you just cannot keep up in terms of farm with the enemy jungler. So these buffs, exactly like Pantheon, help your clear speed. You'll be healthier as a result because the jungle camps won't be hitting you as much, so you will be healthier when you come out of it and look to make your plays. And because of this buff, there is no doubt that there are going to be so many Smurfs trying this out. There are going to be so many boosters abusing this. So good luck to all of you who play against one of those players in solo queue in 12.14 if these buffs go through. Now, moving on, we have 2 top laners here to talk about. Well, one of them is actually played in the jungle at the moment, this being Wukong. So what's happening is that your base health regen is going up from 2.5 to 3.5. This is really good in terms of your sustain, of course. So if you're playing Wukong specifically in the top lane, this is an improvement. This means that after a trade, which you'll probably win because of your passive and how good Wukong is, you will be recovering more HP. So to those of you playing Divine Sunder or Wukong, which I think is actually really underrated in the top lane because Divine Sunder is so broken at the moment, you guys will definitely be happier. And also, Riot are actually changing your ultimate AD ratio per second from 125% of your AD to 120%. So for Wukong at the moment on the live server, so 12.13, it's 110%. Riot were going to buff this to 125%, but thankfully, because they have realized it's such an absurd, broken change, they're reducing this to 120%, which to be honest is probably still over the top for a champion who is so strong and gets to ultimate anyway. So I'm not really sure what these changes are meant to do for Wukong. He's still picked a lot in pro play, he's still a very popular jungler and even top laner, and he's probably going to continue to be so in 12.14 as well, so expect to see just as much, if not more, of the Monkey King next patch. Now, the champion who is getting changed the most from the leaked changes that we have, guys, this is Gangplank. And of course, when Gangplank gets changed, it's probably because he's being picked a lot in pro play, or he's just unbeatable during the laning phase, which he kind of is, unless you legit pick something like maybe Kalista or Lucian or a range champion who can actually kill his barrels. But anyway, GP's changes are as follows. So your base HP is getting reduced from 640 to 600. This is a big early game nerf. This makes you more killable because GP's laning phase is just too strong, and because his late game is absurd as well, it's just too free of a champion to play. Now Riot are kind of compensating this base HP nerf because they're increasing your HP per level from 104 to 114. So at level 18, you'll be getting a bunch more HP. So again, it's kind of fitting that late game scaling GP image. Also in the early game, your base armor is getting reduced from 34 to 31. So Riot are really trying to hit GP during the early game, during the laning phase. So there is actually a bit more counterplay because GP in some matchups just auto wins. His kit is just that broken and counters so many champions in the top lane. So these changes, to be honest, look really healthy. And if you're still skilled at GP, you should still be able to win those matchups. But if you do stuff up, you're probably going to die for it, which sounds good. And this theme, guys, of making GP pretty much a scaling champion now is also carrying on to your ability changes. So what Riot are doing, your Q's base damage, this is getting changed from 20 to 120 to 10 to 130. So it's going to be lower during the early game, but it will be higher at level 9 onwards because you will be maxing your Q first. So again, later in the game, your Q will be dealing more damage, and also that's what's happening to your E as well. So your powder kegs, so the base damage is changing from 80 to 180 to 75 to 195. So the base damage is going to be 15 higher, rank 5 at level 13. But there is also one more change to GP, and this is to his passive Trial by Fire. So your passive's damage is now going to scale. So it's going to deal 2.5 damage for every 1% crit you have. So if there are any Gangplank mains, any Wukong mains, any Qiyana mains, any Pantheon mains, or just anyone who plays the game and detests these champions, let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of the changes. Are they healthy? Are they unhealthy? Are you looking forward to 12.14 as a result of these changes? Now, the other changes we're going to talk about in this video, well, these did actually get released a couple of days ago when we talked about them. So the changes to Aatrox, to Red Kayn, to Wukong, to Yuumi, to Janna, and of course the heal and shield power in the Enchanter's support mythics. But the other systems that are getting hit here, we're going to go through these right now. So first of all, potions, health potions. Instead of healing you for 150, they're going to heal you for 120. Now, what does this mean? If you're getting less HP from potions, well, what are potions? Sustain. So this means that anyone who's trading or maybe poking you down during the laning phase, that is going to stick more. That is going to be more impactful. So champions like Xerath, like Vel'Koz, ranged top laners as well, maybe even Gangplank as one of them, they're going to be happier because they know the enemy champion is not going to recover as much HP when they poke them down. Also, this is continuing into the refillable and corrupting potion items because the 125 healing going down to 100. Exactly the same thing. This just means that poke champions are going to be far more annoying, especially in the support role. So this could see a significant meta change in 12.14. We'll have to wait and see. Now, as far as summoner spells go, the teleport cooldown is increasing from 360 to 420. That is 7 minutes in the early game. So you'll only really be able to use this once before turret plates end and you get unleashed teleport. So you're really going to have to be careful now and more precise when you use the standard teleport during the laning phase. And this change might look a little weird, but I don't really mind it, to be honest, because it's going to encourage you in the top lane, if you're not already, to go 2 combat summoner spells. And I just think it makes the top lane more spicy, more red hot. And yes, if you are playing a teamfight champion, I guess it is a nerf. So if you're playing Ornn or Malphite, you're always going to run TP, right? So this doesn't seem as good, but you're playing those champions for the late game anyway. That early game teamfight will not decide the game. So it kind of goes both ways here, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments on the TP change. Also, summoner spells exhaust, the damage reduction going from 40% to 30%, but it's scaling to 40% at level 9 onwards. So in the early game, like level 1, 2, 3, until level 9, the exhaust is going to reduce the damage of that opponent you exhaust by a little less. Now, does this mean you're going to run Ignite if you're a support, or heal, or whatever it is, cleanse? Maybe, but I don't think this will discourage you from taking exhaust any differently than you would in 12.13, the current patch. Now, as far as all the runes that are getting changed in the game, guys, there are a lot of them. So we will go in alphabetical order here. So let's talk about Biscuit Delivery. This is going to restore 8%, not 10% like it is now, of your missing HP and mana. So again, the sustain, it's going to be down. Poke champions, the poke is going to last with you a lot longer. Also, the biscuit is not going to increase your max mana by as much, so it's actually going down by 10. So once again, through these changes, your resources in terms of your HP and mana, they will not be as plentiful in 12.14. Now, next up, we have bone plating. So the cooldown is going from 45 45 seconds to 55 seconds. Now, is this a big change? Yes, it is, because bone plating now is probably going to be available every 3 ways, not every 2 ways. So this is really important for the top lane, of course, because most top laners will be going this. But even if you're playing in the mid lane, you might be going this into champions like LeBlanc if you're a Silas, maybe even in the bot lane. If you're scared of a Nami Lucian combo or an Alistar Samira combo, especially if you're a support, bone plating will be there. So you're going to have to pay a lot more attention to this cooldown above your HUD in 12-14 if this change goes through. Also conditioning, where you gain armor and magic resist and also total armor and magic resist. Well, this is decreasing in both forms. So armor and magic resist going down, and also the percentage total armor and magic resist, this is going down as well. Now also Guardian, this is getting nerfed, so the cooldown is going up in the early game from 70 seconds to 90 seconds. It's still scaling down to 40 seconds, but again, in the early game, the shield, this protection, this is not going to be as impactful. Now Scorch is one of the few runes that's actually getting buffed, so the damage is going up from 15 to 35 to 20 to 40, so a 5 damage buff, which is kind of nice. So if you're a champion like Zed in the mid lane, or you might be playing a champion like Syndra or Orianna who can poke the enemy champion down, and remember, with the healing getting nerfed, Scorch actually goes up as well, and just because it's getting buffed itself, this is big. Now also Second Wind is getting nerfed, so when you Tryndamere plays, you might want to cover your ears up. So the heal is going down from a 6 value to a 3 value. Now it's still going to regen the same based on your missing HP, but this is another significant nerf in terms of the sustain during the laning phase. So once again, poke-based champions are going to froth this. Now the other rune that's getting buffed, this is Sudden Impact. So in terms of the lethality and magic penetration you get when you dash, you blink, this is going up by 2 for lethality, so from 7 to 9, and by 1 for the magic penetration from 6 to 7. So if you're playing a champion again like a Zed or a Talon or a LeBlanc, even though you probably do want to go Taste of Blood most of the time, but you get my drift. This is just better for those assassins like Katarina and those champions with dashes in their kit, so be on the lookout for them in 12-14 as well. Now following these, we also have Time Warp Tonic that's getting nerfed. So in terms of the movement speed, it's going from 4% to 2%. This is a significant nerf. So if you think about, well, GP's early game in terms of all of the nerfs to him, in terms of his base armor, his base HP, and also Corrupting Potion getting nerfed, Time Warp Tonic getting nerfed, GP is going to struggle a lot more. But that's the same for any other champion who is running the inspiration tree. So it will be interesting to see the impact this has on the game. And the last rune getting changed, guys, for 12-14 is Unflinching. So the tenacity and slow resistance you get down by 5% at each stage of a game. So those are all the changes we know thus far for 12-14. All of them will get released tomorrow on Twitter, and we'll bring you a video, maybe a tier list based on them. But let me know any thoughts you have on any of the changes we've talked about in the last 10 or so minutes. Let me know in the comment section. And if you do enjoy these videos, make sure you leave a like down below. And until tomorrow's daily Season 12 upload, this has been Coach. Peace.